All right, welcome to WSQ 25. Today we're going to be talking about classifying organisms. This will be our last WSQ before the final exam. And so I just want to go through and talk to you guys about what it means to classify. And we're going to learn why biologists organize living things into groups. We're going to learn what the levels of classification indicate, about relationships between organisms, and we're going to talk about some of the characteristics that are used to classify organisms into domains and kingdoms. So let's spend our time, let's jump right into it. So the first question we have to answer is why classify? What is classification? What's the purpose of classification? Why do we do classification? And really simply, classification is something we do all the time. It's just the process of grouping organisms or living things, right, based on their similarities. Now, classification happens outside of science and life science. We use classification to order our our drawers. I think about at home, I've got a place for my socks and for my shirts and for my shorts, and you know, we organize in my garage. I have special tools that are in certain spots, and they're classified. They're organized based upon their similarities, so that if I want to find something, it's easy to find. I mean, imagine if you went into your kitchen and you had some plates in this drawer and some plates in this drawer and glasses here, and your forks are spread out in every drawer. How would you find anything? So a system of classification is just a way for us to better be organized. The modern use of classification, biologists now use the classical form or taxonomy, which is the study of how we classify things. Biologists use this organization process or this classification system just to make it easier to understand and to put groups into or organisms into groups so that we can better understand which organisms go where. There is a particular naming system that is used, and it is called the binomial nomenclature. This was actually produced originally by a man in the 1750s by the name of Carolus Linnaeus, who was a scientist. He was a Swedish naturalist that came up with this naming system. It uses a couple things. It uses Latin, the wording, and it basically uses the genus and the species, okay, which are two levels in the classification system. It uses the genus and the species of an organism to actually give them their scientific name. Now, binomial just means two names. So it's just a two-part naming system that's designed to help us understand what organism we're talking about. And why that's important is because if we didn't use a binomial naming system, okay, then you could have organisms that might be hard to know which one you're talking about. We'll talk about, for example, in cats. Okay, cats are a part of the family feline. Okay, their genus would be Felis. Now you can there's a variety of cats that have different species or different species of cats, but that have similar qualities. So, for example, the puma, okay, or the mountain lion is Felis concolor. Okay, and the second word concolor actually means the same color, because if you've ever seen a mountain lion, they're kind of that bronze color all the way around their coat. Felis domesticus, right? Domesticus means domesticated, right? Those are the house cat. Domesticus means of the house. So those are house cats. Felis marmorata is an example of a particular species. It's the marbled cat, and the marbled cat, marmorata actually means marbled, okay? And so this is a particular cat that actually has this particular coat pattern, and so that's where it got its name. So a lot of times the scientific names, which seem so difficult to understand, are just Latin words that mean something about the physical appearance of that organism. So one thing you need to understand with the binomial nomenclature is that we are going to use there's a couple rules, okay? First of all, it's the genus, like we said, and the species, but we capitalize the genus, do not capitalize the species. So, for example, Ursus horribilis, okay, it's a bear. Okay, Ursus is the genus, this is capitalized. Horribilis is the species, this is not capitalized. The other thing you need to understand is that you're supposed to capitalize Latin names above the genus level. So anything above genus is capitalized, like Mammalia or Homidae, right? But you don't capitalize the English parts of it, just the Latin. Okay, and we'll show that as we move on. We also want to italicize or underline, okay, the genus and species. So you will italicize anytime we see the binomial nomenclature, like Homo sapiens is the genus and species. We'll italicize or underline that. Hominidae, which is not, that would be like the family level, okay, or the order level, we don't have to underline or italicize. So those are a couple rules you have to know. Okay, you have to know. So capitalize genus, don't capitalize species, italicize scientific names, but we don't have to italicize any of the others, and we capitalize all the Latin names of the taxonomy, but not the English counterparts. So let me give you a quick classification example. Let's say we're going to talk about a particular organism. And the organism we're looking at here is actually a type of owl. Okay, and so we're going to classify this particular owl, and the owl that we're going to look at here is going to be this guy right over here. This is an owl that is actually a Virginian owl. Okay, and so we're going to classify him. Now, in the classification system, there's 8 levels: domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. And so domain, if you think of it like a big funnel, right? It looks like this. A big funnel. Domain's at the top, it's the biggest. Species is at the bottom, it's the smallest, right? So this large funnel allows us to narrow down slower and slower. So the domain, if I said what domain is that owl in, well, that owl is a eukaryote. It's in the domain eukaryotes, or organisms that have a single, have a cell with a nucleus. If I ask what kingdom it's in, well, the owl is in kingdom Animalia, and it shares that kingdom with fish and mammals and reptiles and insects and worms, things like that. If I ask you then, well, what phylum it is in, well, it's in phylum Chordata. Okay, phylum Chordata are vertebrates, organisms that have a backbone, and that includes birds and mammals and reptiles and fish, but it doesn't include insects. Well, then I say, well, what class is it in? Well, it's Aves. Aves is birds. Well, birds doesn't include mammals, reptiles, and fish, so those are gone. Well, what order is it in? Well, it's in Strigiformes, which are just owls, basically, owl-like creatures. Well, that gets rid of the robin, which is a different bird. Well, what family is it in? Well, it's in family Strigidae. Okay, Strigidae is a particular group of owls, okay, that's a little bit more narrower, okay, certain qualities and characteristics to them. And what genus is it in? Well, it's in Bubo. Okay, genus Bubo. So that narrows it down. Now we've gotten rid of down to just 2 organisms. And then at the last level, we can finally come up with what's the species name. Bubo virginianus. Virginianus, that's a hard one. Okay, Bubo is the genus. Virginianus is the species. Notice, italicized, right, like we said. It's italicized. Italicized. I'm spelling it right. It's in italics. How's that? It's italicized. And notice that we have a capital genus, but a lowercase species. Notice in each of the genus, see, that's still italicized, but notice in each of the other ones, they're just capitals. Okay, that's the 8 levels of classification. We're going to do some examples in class to help on that. You need to understand, too, there's 3 domains of life: bacteria, archaea, which we're going to talk about, and eukarya. These are the 3 major groups. Bacteria, of course, would be these are both prokaryote organisms. These do not have a nucleus, these 2 groups or domains. Eukaryotes do have a nucleus and include all the different kingdoms of protists and fungi and plants and animals. Okay, these are the 3 main domains. So in the 3-domain system of classification, we can put all known organisms into these groupings. So you're aware the archaea are found deep in oceans where hot gases and stuff spew from these vents. And it comes from the word ancient. We found them mostly recently. They're unicellular prokaryotes and are actually can be both autotrophs or heterotrophs. So they can make their own food or eat their own food as well. So you have different domains, and they get their own because they're structured so much differently and have a chemical makeup different from bacteria. We've actually given them their own domain. Again, the whole purpose of classification is for humans to better understand organisms. That's the purpose, and so that's why we make sense of it. So that's classification system in a nutshell. We are going to spend some more time talking about it in class. So thanks so much. Make sure you do your summaries and your questions.